What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live edition of Shout a Buffalo Bills football podcast. My dad's in the house. He's looking at his watch. I know we're a little bit late. I was running around today. I was stay-at-home dad. I was running around town, had the kids at home. Wife got home a little late. No, sorry, honey. Sorry to throw you under the bus. But we got here. We are doing the show live. The kids are here. They had a show tonight. I'm here with Ryan Talbot, of course. Ed is in the house, the OG himself, the creator, along with Alicia of the Wingnutz Wings. What is up, my friend? How are you?
Good. Thank you very much.
So we got to go to story time as usual. It's a little bit rainy outside, a little gloomy outside, but I feel like when you walk in the doors at Wingnutz, it's always a beautiful sunny day because you know what's coming, and it is going to be deliciousness. What do you got for us this time?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say hello, Wingnutz, and thank you for everything. Thanks go out to God, our staff, everybody, just like I always do every month. But the story today is something that happened right here in this restaurant 3 weeks ago tonight. Two couples came in, older folks, sat in a booth. They were ordering food. One of the guys was wearing a hearing aid, and the girl that was waiting on them was so nice that they gave her super high marks, saying they loved her, everything. And they got all done eating, and she was cleaning up the dishes. And she went in the back, and on the napkin was a little white round piece of whatever it was. And she thought, oh my gosh, he must have dropped a piece of his hearing aid. And she was almost panicked over it. She was talking to two other folks that she works with. She didn't know what to do. She gets a cloth out and she's cleaning it all up. She's trying to make it all pretty. And I'm standing at the booth talking to these folks when she came back and took the napkin and put it down in front of this guy and said, "Sir, I think I found a piece of your hearing aid." And he looks at her and he goes, "That's a breath mint." And so that little girl went down about halfway as she shrank, and we all had a good laugh, and the whole restaurant mocked her out. And I'm not going to say her name, but it was a very funny moment here at Wingnutz. And we get a lot of those, folks.
We get a lot of funny moments, and we get a lot of great times. Every time I walk in here on a weekend or a weekday night, I mean, the place is absolutely buzzing. What's it been like? Because we're a couple of months into this thing now. The new home of Wingnutz has been running for a few months. What's it been like?
It's a dream come true. We opened in December. We have had nothing but success. Everybody that walks in here, especially folks who are here for the very first time, I want them, my goal is to have them have the best chicken wing experience they could possibly have. And sometimes it involves showing them how to use the menu and the difference between the buffalo sauces and the wingnut sauces. Other times it's just me telling them silly stories while they're eating, but some way or another, they have a great time. And when they leave, I always ask them, folks, would you please sign our guest book before you leave? And they love it. So Wingnutz is really kicking butt down here.
You heard him. Everybody sign that guest book before you leave tonight. Let's give it up for the man himself, Ed.
Thank you
so much, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, let's get Ryan Talbot in here. How are you, my friend?
Hey, I am doing great, Matt. Excited to be here at Wingnutz to talk all things Bills.
So we got a lot to talk about. It's been a busy week. Obviously, the schedule came out. We're going to get into a little bit more of that in a little while. At the end of the show, we're going to give our season predictions for the Bills. What's going to be the record? We'll take you into all of that. But I wanted to start with the newest Buffalo Bill edition. We didn't talk about it this week. We didn't have an emergency podcast. But Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a pretty significant addition this late into free agency. The draft has been done. I know a lot of Bills fans were a little bit upset that they only landed one wide receiver in the draft. Well, they come out with a guy that's played in 2 Super Bowls the last 2 seasons, and a guy that, while he's disappeared at times, has been a really important piece to what that offense has been since they moved on from Tyreek Hill. So I guess where I want to start with Valdez-Scantling, we heard from Brandon Beane. We'll get into that in a minute. What was your immediate reaction to the signing?
You know, my immediate reaction, Matt, we've talked about it. It's another dart. It's another dart at the draft at the board, Matt.
Okay.
And listen, MVS.
He's got jokes up here.
I've got jokes. MVS, Matt, brings that speed, though. The speed element that Brandon Beane had talked about in the offseason before the draft. They draft Keon Coleman.
Wait a second. Where did that dart come from?
Dartboard right behind us.
Okay. How did it get to that table?
My wife, Joelle.
So did you motion to her after we started when you had the idea for the dart to get the dart off the board?
100%.
That was pretty slick, man. I give you a lot of credit. I didn't even notice that. Good job.
Yeah. So listen, MVS though, 4.37 40-yard dash time. He brings that speed, the field stretcher. He's not going to be, in my opinion, someone that's going to see significant snaps like the Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, but he's going to be another player that you can mix in, someone that can keep defenses on their toes for when you go for the big play. The drop rate's an issue, but it was an issue with Gabe Davis the last few years as well. In terms of the signing itself, low risk, low guaranteed money. I don't see much downside for the Bills.
I don't see much downside either. I said it out in our insider text line when this happened that I wasn't a huge fan of MVS going back to the start of free agency. I'm not going to lie and sit here and say, oh, this is a great signing now that they got him in the building. But it's a lot like Chase Claypool. And a lot of people were pushing back on me saying that that was a pretty good signing because of the value of it. It's the same kind of thing. This isn't a guy that's coming in here and being expected to be wide receiver one. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN, he put out a tweet yesterday or 2 days ago talking about how this marriage came to be. Valdez-Scantling got to town. He went over to Josh Allen's house and had dinner with him. So this is sign off from QB1, a guy that you want to add to the mix. And, Brandon Beane was on, what was the Chris Long's podcast. And he was asked about MVS and this position group as a whole. And he kind of came back and said, we like what we have because there's so many different flavors. It's not necessarily one guy that you're going to lean on, like AKA Stephon Diggs. But he also said, what I continue to say, tight ends can catch the ball too. And I think Dalton Kincaid is going to have a massive role in this offense. Brandon Beane basically is telling us without telling us.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. It's like Wingnutz. So many flavors, so many options.
Look at this guy.
I'm on
He's
fire.
He's in his bag tonight.
On fire.
Okay, so, don't do that again, though. I didn't hear a lot of laughs on that one.
That's okay. In terms of fantasy football, yeah, get your Dalton Kincaid stock because he is going to have a big season 1 year removed from breaking all the Bills' tight end records. He's going to be a focal point for this offense. I think Dawson Knox is going to have a bigger role than some imagine. James Cook finished near the top of the league in total yards 1 year ago. It's not just the wide receiver position. They've got guys there. They have Curtis Samuel, another free agent addition, over 1,000 total yards in this offense already once in his career. They've got a lot of guys, Khalil Shakir coming on. I think that Bills fans can kind of take a little a sigh of relief knowing that they have a lot of weapons going into this season.
And I've said this multiple times in the show, and I hate kind of repeating myself, but I think it's an important point to make. When you have a guy like Stephon Diggs or a Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill's a little bit different because that speed is such a game changer that even if you're kind of zoning in on trying to take him out of the game, it's almost impossible to do that. But defenses know how to scheme against teams that have one guy that's going to get the ball every time. Now, without that one guy, and Brandon Beane said this in the interview as well, from week to week, it's going to be different who the guy is. And now that you have all these different flavors, I think it sets them up and it sets Josh Allen up to say, you're going to have to all earn it. We're going to roll the balls out. We'll see who's the hottest guy that day. They're going to be the one that's featured in the offense. And oh, by the way, learn the name Mac Hollins. He's not going away. You could talk to us a little bit about that because I think the Bills absolutely love this guy.
Yeah, he said this is a glue guy for this team, Matt. Culture fit. Every conversation he's had, he said this is going to be great for the locker room, great for the team. And oh, by the way, Mac Hollins has never played with a quarterback like Josh Allen. So this is someone that in that interview with Chris Long, he said if it's a 3rd and 8 and Josh Allen throws it to Mac Hollins, they feel like he's going to catch the ball. So there will be matchups with true number one cornerbacks trying to lock up a certain player, but on a week-to-week basis, it can be Khalil Shakir. It can be James Cook out of the backfield. It can be one of the tight ends. There's so many options for this team that I really feel like it's going to be hard for defenses to adjust.
I also think it was interesting that Beane mentioned MVS as a size guy, somebody that could play on the boundary, but then came right back and talked about Keon Coleman and said he's the guy that we envisioned for the X. He's not coming off of that take that's going to be the guy that they put in that spot. I know a lot of people want to see him in the slot. He's a bigger slot. I think he can kind of operate, and they'll ask him to do multiple things. He'll get snaps there for sure in different formations, but they're not afraid of putting that kind of expectation on Keon Coleman. And I think as we move through this process, that's going to be really important. I think that goes a long way to say how much they believe in that young kid to come in here and say, you're going to be the X from the start. A lot of people don't think that you can do it consistently, but we believe in you. We're going to give you that opportunity. And it makes me feel that MVS is a little bit more of like a supportive role than I think what Bills fans would fear. And that's if you're thinking, okay, he's got to come in here, show Coleman the ropes, which he can. And if he's suited for that role, that's fine too. But I still think it's going to be Coleman on the depth chart slotted above Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, 100%. And, one of the biggest knocks on Coleman during the draft process after the Bills drafted him was the separation issues. And, the Bills didn't seem very concerned about it. When you go back and you actually watch those Florida State games, the quarterback is the reason why there wasn't a lot of separation on those passes, on those intended catches. So I really think that he's better at separating than people give him credit for. I think that size, the way that Josh Allen plays off script, all of that's going to benefit Keon Coleman as a rookie, and he's going to have an opportunity to have a great rookie year in terms of stats.
I got a take here that I'm going to share with you. So MVS stats fell off in a big way in 2022, or 2023, almost half the production that he had from the previous season. He gets cut. The Chiefs say, I don't want you anymore. I think MVS went over to Josh Allen's house and said, get me away from all this Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift nonsense. I'm ready to come over here. Maybe that was part of Josh Allen's pitch to get him to come over. He had multiple offers. The Los Angeles Chargers brought him in as well. I think there was a lot going on with that Chiefs team last year. There was a lot of, especially during the season, they weren't trending to be the Super Bowl winner. If you go back to the middle of last season, I think their Super Bowl odds had dipped to maybe the 4th or 5th in the NFL after kind of like a slow start. They lost to the Lions in the opener. People were jumping off the bandwagon. And for whatever reason, MVS's role in that offense fell off. Now, there's some people that cover the Chiefs that he's not as fast as he was. He's lost a little bit of a step. But even if you go from 4.37 to 4.47, I still think that there's a way that you can contribute. Again, they're not going to ask him to do a ton.
Yeah, and when you look at what he agreed to in terms of guaranteed money, it's a little over $1 million in guaranteed money in Buffalo. You mentioned the Chargers pursuing him, Matt. The Chargers lost both of their top receivers. So for him to choose Buffalo, where he is going to be a depth option more than a 1 or 2, where in the Los Angeles, he could have been a higher target share, more of a, I don't want to say star, but more of a factor in the offense. The fact that he chose Buffalo speaks volumes about the pitch that Josh Allen made, what he sees himself doing, what his role will be in this offense. And like you said, in Buffalo, it's a fresh start for MVS.
We got a lot that we're going to get to on this episode of Shout. We are going to talk about the new officiating liaison to Sean McDermott. We'll get into that in a minute. We'll give our season prediction, where we see the Bills winning games, losing games this year. And then we'll bring up some fans to do a little Q&A here at the end. We're inside Wingnutz, 1402 Millersport Highway in Amherst, New York. The best chicken wings in town. You can come and get that. They have, I think I heard it right, 40 beers on tap. Everything is super delicious in here. It's a great time. They got the Bandits game on. I can't see the score, but I think they weren't winning when we started.
Yeah, listen, multiple TVs, more than 40 beers, unbelievable food. Come on down to Wingnutz and join us, Bills Mafia.
So the Bills hired former NFL referee John Parry to be their officiating liaison. This is a role that Sean McDermott actually revealed in an interview on One Bills Live they had last year. There wasn't a lot of fanfare around it. They didn't make an announcement of the role. I think it was something that they were testing out. They go out, and when they envisioned the role initially, John Parry was actually who they wanted for the job. They apparently approached him. He couldn't do it last year. He was on ESPN in that role. I don't know if his contract ran out or however the situation came to be, but the Bills go out and they hire him. He's going to be in the booth on game days to help Sean McDermott, and you think that's a really good idea based on the recent and all the way back history for Sean McDermott.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a brilliant move, first and foremost, getting a former official in this league from 2000 to 2018. Then he joins ESPN as kind of like their expert in terms of review. So last year, like you said, Matt, they had someone in that role. We don't know who it was yet. But last year, the Bills went 3 for 6 in terms of their reviews. Ban about 500. Not too bad. Sean McDermott, for his career, is 10 for 33. That is bad. That's not good enough. So you bring in John Parry, someone that knows this game, knows all the rules. I guarantee you he knows this new kickoff rule, for instance, like the back of his hand. He's going to come to training camp. He's going to tell these guys, here's what you're doing wrong. Here's what you're doing right. They're going to come in more prepared going into the season. And then in game, if there's something that the Bills have any questions about, Perry's going to have that bird's eye view, and he'll tell Sean McDermott and company, yes, challenge this, or no, don't. And I think you're going to see the Bills once again have more success when it comes to challenges.
I think it's interesting that this was Sean McDermott's first year on the competition committee. Spent a lot of time at the owners' meetings, in meetings with other head coaches, going over different rule changes, things like that. And I think you just kind of see what's happening behind the scenes, having these conversations, trying to find a competitive advantage. Ryan, there's urgency in this building. I think Sean McDermott, you go too many years, and I know he's talked a lot about the success the Bills have had over the last couple of years, and I think he's right in rattling off his accomplishments. But look at a guy like Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati years ago. After a while, the fan base starts to turn on you because the monotony of getting to the playoffs and not advancing, it wears on a fan base. I talk to fans all the time that have already forgotten what it was like in the drought, and they're trying to get to where the Chiefs are. And I think Sean McDermott feels that a little bit, and I think that's why he's kind of turning over every rock, trying to figure out every stone, trying to figure out where the next answer might come from.
And that's the smartest part about this for Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, whether they feel the heat or not, whether they admit it or not. You want every advantage that you can get on a year-to-year basis. And, you mentioned Marvin Lewis. Lewis would get the Bengals to the postseason. Then he just couldn't get them those wins. The Bills have had some wins in the playoffs. It's just been when they get to the championship, when they get to the divisional round and they play the Chiefs or the Bengals, they haven't been able to get over that hump. So it is important this year that they make those significant strides. And John Parry might factor into that more than people think.
We talked about Brandon Beane's appearance on the Chris Long podcast. There's another name that he brought up when asked about, I think it was the first name or the second name, when asked about where they're going to get this pass rush going this year. And the name that he brought up was Javon Solomon, who, coming out of Troy, there's an absolute ton of people that think this is kind of like edge rusher university.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
Troy produces really good pass rushers, and I think Brandon Beane is leaning into that. He's leaning into the college level production of a guy that we've talked about it on the show. Where is my biggest concern on this Bills roster right now? Edge rusher. I don't think you could go into this season and say, okay, Von Miller is going to be Von Miller. I think you got to go into this season and say Von Miller is going to be the guy that you saw last year, and you're going to need AJ Epinesa to step up. You're going to need a guy, Javon Solomon, who had all these sacks last year in college, to step up and produce in a big way in year one. Beane didn't want to put too much pressure on him. They never do. But I think there's a little pressure on Solomon to show out in camp and preseason and be a guy that they can lean on as at the very least, specialty pass rusher.
And you mentioned it. Troy is kind of pass rush U. It's a little underrated. DeMarcus Ware, Pro Football Hall of Famer, comes out of Troy. Osi Umenyiora, who maybe another year or two of high production would be in that Hall of Fame conversation. All-Pro, Pro Bowler. And now you have Javon Solomon coming along and breaking their records, setting the record for most sacks since they joined the FBS. He has good hands. He has the speed along the edge. And the reason I really like that pick, Matt, is the Bills went away from that prototypical 6'4", 6'5", 265-pound D end to someone that's a little bit more undersized, but can get around the edge, has a little bit more bend to his game. I think you're going to have him on the field as a rookie in the obvious pass rush situations when the Bills need him, because you're right. Von Miller, can you count on him anymore? We'll see. Greg Rousseau, I don't want to say he regressed as a pass rusher. He's elite, though, as a run defender, and that almost takes away from what he does as a pass rusher. So you get Solomon out there on the obvious pass rushing downs, see what he can do as a rookie, and if he gets 4 to 5 sacks as a rookie, I think that's a win for the Bills.
I think it's also interesting that Brandon Beane brought up, you mentioned Greg Rousseau. He made it a point to bring up the foot injury that he dealt with for most of last season, actually said it was very similar to the injury Ed Oliver had 2 years ago. Ed Oliver texted Brandon Beane last February, 2 Februaries ago, after that season where he was injured. He said it was still bothering him. So I think Rousseau basically played on 1 foot last year. And I think if you can get him to a place where he's healthy consistently, I think that's when the sack production is going to come, because I think you got to be on the field. Like, look at some of the top edge rushers in the league, the Myles Garretts of the world, the Chris Jones. I know he's on the interior. He plays a little bit on the edge. They're on the field for 80 to 90% of the snaps. If you're out there, you're able to eat a little bit more.
Yeah, availability is the best ability, Matt, as we've said many times. So if he can stay healthy this year, he'll have a significant role off the edge because of, AJ Epinesa showed good strides last year, but he's not someone that you necessarily want out there on the obvious pass rushing downs. Von Miller, you still don't know what you have there. So then it's Javon Solomon, and it's a guy like Greg Rousseau who you didn't waste or hesitate any time in terms of picking up that fifth-year option.
I really appreciate that you stand a little bit further back, because when you look at it on live camera, it looks like I'm almost as tall as you, which
true.
I'm excited. And the hair is extra high, so I feel like it works out pretty well.
Extra low here.
Extra low there. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get into this schedule. We're out at Wingnutz. We're almost there. We got a couple of fans that are excited to get out here. We will get to you in a few moments here. We got to go through this 2024 schedule really quick and give our season predictions. I had a couple fans texting me about it. We're out at Wingnutz, like I mentioned, 1402 Millersport Highway. Get on out here. They got delicious drinks, great wings. The Wing Flight is about as popular an item as you can find in town right now.
Absolutely. Unbelievable wings here. You can't go wrong with any of them, Matt.
All right, so we're going to get out to the top of this. Let's come back to this. The fans are super excited. You got to listen to the people. We got to get them on this show. We got a couple of young ladies that are dying to get on here. Why don't you come on in? We'll do the fan Q&A right now. All right, this is serious business. Step up a little bit here. All right. So, do you have this written down, or are you just going to post this on your Snapchat?
Post on my Snapchat.
Gotcha. Okay, go ahead.
What do we do?
So you ask any question that you want.
I don't know. Thought you were either asking the questions.
Oh, you want us to ask you questions?
All right, so the Bills play 17 games this year. How many games are they going to win?
All of them, obviously.
All of them. All 17.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, all 17. Who do you think the toughest team is that they play? They play the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Dolphins. It's another tough team, Ryan. The Lions. Lions are scary.
The Cincinnati Bengals.
They don't play the Cincinnati Bengals in the regular season, but that's a good one. You like Joe Burrow? Jamar Chase, the Ravens, that's another tough one.
I think no one, because they're just like that, you know?
The Bills are just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're that good.
So you're not worried about Stephon Diggs not being on the team anymore?
Nope. Didn't do
Kinda.
anything there anyways.
I
All
made
right.
a poster and I hung it in his room, and then it fell over.
The Stephon Diggs fell over?
Yeah.
She threw it right out.
Yeah.
All right.
I crinkled it up and threw it out.
All right, so 17-0 for the Bills. That's your prediction?
Yeah.
All right. Say your names real quick so we know. We can come
I'm-
back after the year. Hold you accountable.
I'm Allie.
Allie. All right. Allie was 17-0.
I'm Highland.
What was it?
Highland.
Highland.
And I'm Anna.
Anna. All right. Let's give it up for this trio. 17-0 Bills. Thank you, ladies.
Oh, thank you.
You got yourself a little duck. All right. We got a ton of folks in the house tonight. We're at Wingnutz, 1402 Millersport Highway. Who's next up? You guys will be next. Come on in. We got somebody famous in the house right now.
What's up, guys? How are we feeling?
We're
What's
feeling
up?
great.
What's
How are
up?
you?
Good.
How are you?
Good to see you guys. I just came over. Yes, we graduated today from
You
UB.
graduated.
From UB, we did.
Let's give it up. Graduates in the house.
We did.
Couple graduates. Now, do you know that your photographer is my student?
I do.
You do know?
Miss Lily Ensminger,
Yes.
Lil
Great.
Flicks.
She's not graduating though, right? She's
No,
still got a
not
couple
so-
years
yeah,
left.
yeah.
All right. So what do you think about the Bills this year?
I feel good. I mean, I always feel good. I always feel confident in the energy that we bring. I love Keon Coleman. I love the pickup. I haven't really got to sit with the schedule yet. You know, I saw the Patriots 2 times at the end of the season. I think we all have PTSD, so that scares me a little bit. But no, I always feel good. Like I said, you know, we're gonna build with what we have. Josh is Josh, and we'll work with what we got and do what we do. Maybe I have to make another song to bring some energy. I don't know. But yeah.
So how many years has it been since that song dropped? 4?
Coming for Blood, it's been 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
So you have any ideas about like what could be next in the can here? Like, what are you thinking?
I mean, I get excited. You guys show a lot of love and a lot of good energy with Coming for Blood. So, I mean, I'm very tempted to make a new song for the Bills. We'll see what happens. We have a lot of big things coming up. So I would love to see, you know, how the season starts, how it plays out, and what the energy's feeling like, and, you know, see where it goes. But, yeah.
Anything else you want to shout out? Any singles out right now? Anything that you want to talk about?
Nothing right now. I've got some stuff coming up, but I have no timeline. I just want to say go Bills Mafia. Thank you for what you guys do. It's super cool to see what you guys do. Thank you for supporting me. I love being here. Shout out to Wingnutz. Shout out to everybody here, and go Bills. That's really it.
Give it up for
really
Liale. All right. So 17-0. What do you think about that prediction?
That's a pretty bold prediction, Matt. You know, I don't think you and I were quite there, but I was pretty surprised at my end prediction myself.
Yeah, because I think we both were kind of starting at around 10 or 11 wins. And then as we kind of worked our way through it, we both kind of like skipped up a couple. We'll get into that in a second. We got a couple more folks in the house that want to come up. Come on up, guys. So, we got a 4-pack here. Nice. We do. All right. So I'm going to go across the dial here. Let me hear your names and what you think about the Bills this year.
My name is Annie, and I think the Bills tried to win the Super Bowl, but they didn't.
Say it again.
I think the Bills tried to win the Super Bowl, but they didn't.
They tried to win the Super Bowl, but they didn't last year. That's excellent analysis. And I don't think that they did because they got some more work to do, right? Exactly.
I'm Luke, and I like the Bills.
You like the Bills. What do you think about Keon Coleman?
He's good.
So, funny story. Lucas, when I told him, come on in, honey. When I told him that Stefon Diggs had gotten traded, I absolutely thought it was going to be a long, long offseason. He was heartbroken. I feel like a lot of Bills fans were really heartbroken when Stefon Diggs left. But it's kind of cool that you have one guy that – oh, Griff was good. You were good?
Yeah, I was happy.
Why were you happy?
He's a bad sport.
He's a bad sport?
He throws his helmet when he loses.
Sounds like a baseball player I know. Or actually, I used to know because I haven't seen that in a long time from Mr. Griffin right here. I'm setting a good example. I like it. Who do we got right here?
My name's Cooper, and what I like about the Bills is that they work so hard to win the Super Bowl.
You like that about them, that they work hard? My man, I like it. What's your name?
Kennedy.
Kennedy what?
Parrino.
Oh, my goodness. Who is your favorite Bills reporter?
Daddy.
Daddy? Oh. Thank you. What do you think the Bills are going to do this year?
Win.
They're going to win? There we go. All right. Give it up for this 5-pack. Hit the road. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you tomorrow. Get a good night's sleep. Got a big game. All right. All right. Schedule prediction time. Anybody else want to pop up? Oh, no. AJ, come on up. Where's Cote, by the way? Or not Cote, Cavalieri. He wants to come up, too.
All right.
All right. So we were talking before the show about what's your big take? What's your big feeling right now? And you want to dip your toes into the receiver waters a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I'm real happy with the pickups. We got a huge receiver room this year. Everybody's 6'3", 6'4", a couple of little guys mixed in with some speed. I feel like we're going to be running the ball, a lot of play action, running 12 personnel, moving the ball right down the middle of the field, down teams' throats, and they're not going to be able to stop us.
So do you think that this is a situation with Diggs gone, like we were talking about a little bit at the earlier part of the show, and now different flavors in that room is a little bit more advantageous for Josh Allen and maybe not having to force it to one guy as much?
He's the leader of the offense, undisputed now, and I don't think he has to worry about sharing the ball or throwing to a certain guy a certain amount of times per game. I think he's in control of the offense, and I really am excited to see the evolution of Josh Allen this year.
I love it. Why don't we break a little news on this episode of the podcast? I think we're coming back to Rochester this year. Is that true?
Absolutely. We'll be there the last week of training camp, probably the last day of training camp, hopefully, and we'll be at Dorado again.
Dorado in Rochester. So for all the Shout fans that want to get Shout Live in Rochester, you're not only going to get that, you're going to get Wingnutz that is coming back to Rochester once again. That was one of my favorite weekends, or that favorite nights of the year.
We had a blast. It was an awesome time. There was a line around the corner and down the street, and they ate about 2,000 wings in a couple hours. It was wild.
We're going to break that record this year, so we better make sure we're fully stocked and loaded.
I'm bringing 4,000.
All right, there you go.
Let's see what you got, Rochester.
All right, give it up for AJ. Thanks, brother.
Go Bills.
All right, where's Cavalieri? All right, get on up here, dude. We got to bring up the traveling man, the other half of the dynamic duo. He's been all over the United States here. It's good to see you live and live in color. How are you, my friend?
Appreciate it. Yeah, doing well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So what do you think? What do you got the Bills doing here? 17 games. Got a couple tough games on the schedule.
I'm gonna say 11-6.
Okay.
I think Bishop's gonna be unbelievable. We're putting him right in the lineup.
All right.
He's gonna be starting. I think could be rookie of the year, defensive player. I think that's definitely a possibility. We really got great receivers. We really went young. We're rebuilding the team. I wouldn't say it's a rebuild year, but we're going young. You know what I mean? We're investing in guys that hopefully in the next 5 years we re-sign. If not, you let them walk. Tremaine Edmonds, we let him walk. So many guys that we just let walk. It's like you either re-sign these guys or you draft new guys and plug new guys in.
I really like what you're thinking there. Bishop, actually, listen, this guy is a little bit of a gambler. Okay. He goes into the casino. He rips it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
not gambling when it's free money. You know
okay,
what I mean?
Exactly. So I saw a tweet the other day on Bishop. His odds for defensive rookie of the year are like, it was predicted to be like a go out and get this because it's the kind of odds that you like, but they're juicy enough where you're going to win a lot, but it's likely. I mean, if he comes in this defense, has 5 picks, like
he's a ball hawk. Yeah.
That could exactly be what
sure.
you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Bills are looking at it like we look at the playoffs. Obviously, we try and build to beat KC. We put all this investment into offensive or defensive line, and we still can't sack Mahomes. I think the way you beat them is you score 30-plus points in the playoffs versus them, and we just haven't done that yet. So really focusing on the offense, committing to scoring points. It's an offensive league. I think that's the keys to success.
Dude, this dude's going to come in here and take our jobs, man. He's bringing the goods right now. All right, everybody give it up for Chris Cavalieri. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. All right, Ryan, schedule time. You got the Bills winning 12 games?
12 games when we went through it tonight, Matt.
I got the schedule here. Where do you feel like things get really tough for them and maybe the first kind of signs of trouble happen? Because you haven't come in at 2-0 out of the gates.
So it's shortly thereafter, Matt. It's in that prime time stretch. I see things where after a few games, fans are a little bit worried, but then they kind of bounce back in a big way based on how the schedule's broken down.
So I have the Bills going 2-0 to start, and then I have them beating Jacksonville at home. I think that's a game they're going to get up for. They're going to get a ton of time to prepare for that game. You have them losing it, though.
I do. I've seen Jacksonville have Buffalo's number to a certain extent. I've seen them play the Bills well. I need to see Buffalo kind of put them away before I can predict them to defeat Jacksonville in the regular season.
We saw this movie before, the Bills at Baltimore. They came back to win a couple years ago in a tough game. Josh Allen plays well on the road. There might be some elements. I think they very likely could win this game, but I had to come up with a couple losses somewhere. This was one of the ones that I'm going to give them. Then and you have them losing to the Baltimore as well. But then things turn around for them quickly for both of us. At Houston, at the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. I think they win both of those games. I think they get up. They beat Stephon Diggs. I think they're going to be motivated for that game. And then Aaron Rodgers, man, I'm just waiting for the tire fire that is the Jets 2024 season. I think it's going to be bad.
I agree with that. And listen, Houston impressed me a lot last season. I love CJ Stroud. The level of competition, though, at times is a little bit questionable. It's going to be a big, jump for them in terms of who they have to play, including the Bills. So I had the Bills winning that one. I just don't buy into the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers will be playing in that game based on how quickly he went out last season. He's getting older. He's another year older. The O-line, they tried to solve those issues. I'm not sure that they did.
Then it's Tennessee. I think that the schedule eases up a little bit. Unless Will Levis turns into a legitimate quarterback, then that's a tough game at home. I got them winning on the road at Seattle for a 4-game win streak here. You do not. You think they go out to Seattle and lose?
There's always that one bizarre loss where you think the Bills should win that game. They have the better team, the better roster. I picked Seattle as this year's bizarre loss for the Bills.
I have the Bills coming back home against Miami, a game that I think at that point Miami's going to need to win if the Bills get off to the start that we have. I think they come into Buffalo after the Bills knock them off in their house. I know they haven't beaten the Bills very many times. I mean, if you go back through Josh Allen's career, it's like 12 wins now against the Dolphins in the last 13 matchups or whatever it ends up being. They've owned the Dolphins.
100% own the Dolphins. The only 2 losses that Josh Allen has had is a Charles Clay drop near the end zone on a deep ball on 4th and long, and then the game where the sun was just blistering hot. The Bills are cramping up, losing O-linemen and other players at a rapid rate. So I have the Bills sweeping the Dolphins again. I just can't get there with this team. I like the players. I like the coaching staff in Miami, but Sean McDermott always seems to have their number.
Win at Indy, Kansas City at home. We both have them losing this game. Listen, I think they can win this game, but I think you got the bye coming up. You got San Francisco on deck outside of the bye. Maybe they're just trying to get to the bye at this point, and maybe they lose a close one against Kansas City. Could they win this game? Of course. They've had Kansas City's number in the regular season. But again, finding a couple of spots in the schedule where you could see a little bit of letdown, I could have gone either way. I could have gone Kansas City win, San Francisco loss, but I went the other way. Maybe they win both of them. That would be huge.
Absolutely is possible to win both of those games. Kansas City and the Bills are just so familiar with one another, Matt, that I feel like they go into these games. They know exactly the type of haymakers that each team is going to throw. It'll go down to the wire. It was just one of those games where I had to kind of flip a coin. I had the Chiefs winning that one.
On the road at the Rams, the sunny weather in December. I will miss you, my friend. My flight's already booked. I cannot wait. I got them winning that game. Then I have them losing to the Detroit Lions. That's tough. Another back end of 2 straight road games against the Rams, Lions, both contenders in the NFC. How do you have those 2 going?
Yeah, I had the Bills winning those matchups. I like, against the Rams, that is. I like the talent matchup. I know that the Rams have some great wide receivers. They're going to see a little bit of a drop-off in their defense this year. Detroit's another coin flip game, though. I think they're legit. They're here to stay for some time in the NFC.
So then I got wins to close the season. After that, New England twice, the Jets at home in December. If Aaron Rodgers is still there, we'll see how much of that offensive line is still standing. I have the Bills finishing at 12-5.
Yeah, I had them at 12 wins as well, winning down the stretch there. New England's interesting because by the time they play them, I would assume that Drake May will have quite a bit of experience under his belt. Same with those 2 rookie receivers that they drafted this year. That could pose a problem. I just think the overall talent level in New England isn't on par with the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets. They're in for another long year. The Bills sweep that series. They beat the Jets as well, win their final 3, go into the playoffs on a little bit of a win streak.
Another awesome show at Wingnutz, 1402 Millersport Highway. Get on out here. We are here live every single month. We'll be here again in June. In July, we'll be back at Dorado in Rochester. We're excited for that show. Final thought, Ryan Talbot.
Final thought. I think we do have one question left.
Ooh.
You have
All right,
one now.
come on in.
You guys are our final thought. All right.
So,
Right up.
very important. Why can't you bring me on field to see Josh Allen?
That's the question.
Yep.
I don't even go on the field. I'm in the press box. This guy's on the field in his suit on TV.
We actually get this question a lot. A lot of people wonder why I can't get them tickets, why I can't get them autographs. That's what we like to call unethical. And we will learn about that in school in a couple of years. And if you go to UB and you take my class, we'll talk a lot about ethics in journalism. So basically, it's just number one, not very cool, right? Because they're there to do a job. But number 2, do you think anybody, I was thinking about this the other day, do you think anybody in the history of Buffalo has been more well-known and more approachable than Josh Allen?
I would argue no. He is very approachable. Just a great guy. You hear all these stories. You saw what he did with the jersey, sending it to a family in mourning recently. He is as down to earth and as blue collar Buffalo as anyone can be.
I will give you a little bit of a tip, though. If you go to the blue and red game, that's probably the best chance that you can get super close. You can get down to the front row, and then Josh Allen comes around in the row and he signs autographs.
I've been there before. I was in front row and I high-fived him.
Wow,
Hey,
that's
you're
big
getting
time.
there.
That's more than me. I've never even high-fived him. So that's big time. All right, let's give it up. Thank you so much for
Alec.
coming on. All right, I will give you the final thought, though.
Yeah, final thought, Bills Mafia, stick with us. We have some more shows here at Wingnutz on the docket. A lot of Bills news to discuss here in the next few months. Join the Text Insider line.
Text Insider line next week, Tuesday, 3 straight Tuesdays. OTA's practice. You want to know everything that's going on? Josh Allen and Keon Coleman. We're going to be sending out to all the Text Insiders. Mini camp will close things down in a month. Then we get a little bit of a break. Training camp's going to be here before you know it. For Ryan, I'm Matt from Wingnutz. See you next time. Take care, everybody.